Okay, so we were kind of just talking about going through the tunnel, walking out onto the field, feeling the excitement of the energy of the crowd and the students and everyone in this huge stadium. What are some of your game day traditions that your band has?
So I go to a smaller school. We only have about 120 in our band, which makes it a great community. We know everybody there. And so we have Saturday game days. So you start off with your morning rehearsal. Everybody's too tired to be there, but you're all doing it. You're all ready for the game. And then we have our lunch break, and usually you go out with your section or do something else. But then you come back, get all uniform suited up, and then we march around the stadium to bring in all the tailgaters. We march next to them, playing the fight song, and then we walk over and get lined up ready for pregame. And our pregame consists of a starting fanfare where we all come out on the straight lines, and march across the field and play fanfares I think it's 16 counts. But so that's really fun. It gets the crowd involved. We are so used to it, and it's ingrained in our mind. That's how we start the game, and that's how we're gonna keep the energy up the whole time. So
we have a pretty similar pre-game routine, which is really awesome. There's a couple traditions that kind of stick out to me that I'd love to share just for a little bit. So one of them we call is coming out of the hole, which I touched on earlier. Which was originated in Old Pitt Stadium, which is now knocked down. The University of Pittsburgh plays in Heinz Field with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the same stadium, but the tradition remains alive. So we now call it coming out of the tunnels, where we have smoke, and we shoot smoke out of the tunnels, and then the whole band comes pouring out, which is a blast. So before that, the University of Pittsburgh has a pretty unique tradition called the Herald Trumpets, which was founded by director Ace Arthur back in 1958 at Pitt. And it's the very first thing that happens during pregame. So there's a group it ranges from 15 to 20 Herald Trumpets, run out at the very beginning, play a fanfare, kind of how Caitlin said originally. And then right after that fanfare finishes, the drums immediately start, and then the drum line rushes out, and the whole band rushes out right after. So it's really exhilarating to be a part of that. And then also we have two big traditions that kind of happen outside of typical game day. Back in 2018, we revived the Stadium Review concert, which didn't happen for a little bit, but we had brought it back to the band, which at the end of the season, we do a review of all of the shows that we've put on, which is really fun to share with our families and people who just haven't been able to listen to all the shows throughout the season. And then also in 2019, the band council got to revive another tradition called the Snake, which is a parade through University of Pittsburgh's campus, which if the University of Pittsburgh, it's an urban campus, so it's really busy. There's buses everywhere. There's streets all over the place, really busy. So we shut down some of the streets and had a police escort and paraded through the campus, and then finished with a concert on the steps of the Cathedral of Learning, which is our storied building on the campus. So those two traditions, even though they're technically new, have been by far so much fun. And while it was a little disappointing not to be able to do them this year with COVID season, we're really excited to bring them back again too, and continue those traditions forward as well.
The one tradition that I'm going to talk about is that at the end of every single football game since I've been a freshman at UNT, we play this song called "You'll Never Walk Alone." And it's a really nice tune. Madison Scouts, the Drum and Bugle Corps, they play it. That's their core song. We kind of adopted that into our culture. So at the end of every game, since I've been a freshman, we've just played it, and it's a very nice song. It's been a tradition since I'm not even sure, but at least a couple decades. But yeah, so ever since we started that tradition, there would be a crowd of spectators just from the audience. They just stick around until we play it, and it's like it's the last thing we play. So like everyone who sticks around, they're like alumni, people who really appreciate the struggles and like the efforts we put into the band. And even the football team, they like stand in a line on the field in front of us, and they just kind of like wave around, do the whole thing, grabbing each other. But it's one of my favorite traditions because over the past few years, I've definitely grown attached to it. And yeah, just hearing it, I can imagine the melody before we even start playing it. And yeah, I just really like that tradition that we've held on to.
Like Adam said, my band actually adopted the You'll Never Walk Alone chorale as well, and we play it on occasion. It's a beautiful tune, and then just thinking of it is wonderful. So at the end of any game that our football team wins, though, we play All of the Lights, which same kind of deal though. Everyone enjoys it, everyone loves it. The football team is there. So one thing that I also really love is the camaraderie that the marching band will bring, whether it's game day or a pep event, or parading around campus as well. There's the football team, of course, and then there's companionship with the dance team. We have a dance troupe as well at the school, and then we have the cheer team. And sometimes in shows we'll have, if it's a pop song, we'll have the dance team, and that's every year. So there's a lot of good collaboration. Two traditions that I'll share are singing the fight song, we sing the alma mater of our school, which is like this ancient, right, pretty tune, but the words to it are unknown to most of the rest of the school. But then the only time you ever really hear it, or I mean, I'm sure there are other times I don't know about, but a lot of people do get to hear it when we sing it, because we play it all the time. And then one game every year we usually will sing it, and that's very special. The last thing that we do that comes to mind is a circle drill. So we usually do a different show every single game each year, and in the middle of it, usually with whatever game it is, we'll do a circle drill show. And a circle drill is very, very difficult for us, but it's really cool, and it's a good time once we get it down and work hard for it. Last year we did a flower drill, and my band director is from Tennessee. His name is Dr. John Martin, and back in his day he played Sousa at U of Tennessee, and they did circle drill. So in our band, as tradition with him for the past 10 years or so, I'm sure, we do it as well. So I don't know, I just love it though, all the traditions.
Yeah, actually, I did want to touch on, like, kind of add on to what Adam said, as well as my initial IMB video too, explaining You'll Never Walk Alone. So it did start in 1983 with the old director. His name was Dennis Fisher. He actually wanted to use this tune because back then the band was so small and it was very educationally focused, and they were usually the only ones from their hometown. So the band that had about 100 people, everyone was from a different location. And he wanted, with the help of the student coordinators, to start some traditions. They tried this thing back then where they wanted something to tie in the members all together. So they just started playing it after Friday night practices. And that evolved into trying to slowly play it at football games. And then one or two people stayed. They're like, oh, the band's doing something new. But then, as Adam said, it evolved into something that even now the football team is part of. Because it's true that outside just our band, we all truly never walk alone. We're part of the University of North Texas. Like, it's just our little community right then and there. But on the flip side of all of that, we have this really interesting drum cadence that we call street beat, and it's something that we play when we march from wherever we have our dinner or game day meals all the way around into the stadium for pregame. And it's your standard drum cadence. It's really cool. But what's really cool about all of that is that every section has their own different chants for different cadence patterns. And so it's really fun watching what the flutes say, to see what the clarinets say, all the way to the tubas, and they have their own thing. And it's just a really cool tradition to see how some of the words stay constant, but then little phrases change every year.
Yeah, I'll actually piggyback real quick on what Marutha said. We have Street Beat as well, and it's the same kind of deal. Everyone has their own little statements they say, and that's really fun. And it's always cool to be walking, and then you hear, oh, the alto said this, or the drums say this, and that's super fun. That's one of my favorite things. Also, going off of songs, we have 2 songs that we play a lot. We have an arrangement of Amazing Grace, originally from James Madison. A beautiful tune, gorgeous trumpet solo in the middle, and that one is always super nice to come together. And then a few years ago, we had a funk show, and What Is Hip by Tower of Power was a favorite amongst the band. That was our favorite song to play, and that kind of got pulled into our post-game show, and it's been there for the past 3 or 4 years that I've been there. So that's always fun to play. But for game day, our game day usually starts around 4 a.m. We have our in-stadium rehearsal. That's one of I want to. Oh, it's terrible. One of my favorite and least favorite things: waking up at 4 a.m., going to Waldo Stadium, rain, snow, sunshine, whatever. We're there for about 2 hours. They let us go. Then the tubas always go to get Arby's for lunch. Get a beef and cheddar and some curly fries, and that gets you fueled up for the game. And then before our game, before we do march down to the stadium, we do this thing called Tuba Eta Pi, and we have it on our shirts here. Tuba Eta Pi. It's a little fake fraternity that the tubas have. We talk about how we eat pies and all this stuff, and we jump around each other and we scream. That's always a lot of fun. That's a big thing for us. Then we have march down, where we do street beat, as I mentioned earlier. Then once we get to the stadium, we have kind of a mini tunnel. We don't have a full tunnel, but we have a mini tunnel, and we come running out of that. We do 4 to 5 down the field, about 200 beats a minute. That's really quick. That takes a while to get used to, but it's a lot of fun. And then in our pregame, we have this thing called Fight Song W, where we do a W on the field for Western, and then we are floating across the field. And we don't have like a change of direction. We have like a 6-step change that looks as if we are floating right across the field.
Wow.
And but pregame is probably my favorite thing about all that, because there's so much pride within the band, as I'm sure everyone else has pride in their pregame shows and all that.
Well, I know Kappa Kappa Psi is a real fraternity, but maybe Tuba Eta Pi needs to have like a pie eating contest fundraiser, or maybe you guys need to have like I don't know, more pies.